Jack. Play as fuck up. So a couple of things. Welcome to Soft Sports. If you're not familiar with Soft Sports is the Houston Texans Homer Network. I'm your host, Ed Honcho. Glad you could join me this evening. It won't be a long stream because I actually want to watch the World Series myself. But I just want to go over a couple of things, and I want to get back on track because the regular during the week streams have not been as consistent. So I just want to give y'all a little bit of something tonight just to kind of ponder over and chop it up with. And then immediately after this stream, I will be dropping the 5 takeaways. Like I said, I'm getting everything back on track with that. There's been some timing issues. So, again, make sure you follow Soft Sports on all the proper social medias. Make sure you're rooting for the fucking Astros. Make sure you go and support Soft Sports TV. The secondary Soft channel link is in the description. Go to softsports.tv. Hector Flores is putting in some great work over there. So, man, show Hector some love and go check out that Astros video and everything he's been dropping for Dynamo, Astros, all that. A lot of great content. Going to have some Rockets talk coming up there soon. But anyway, I want to talk about the Texans and the injury situation. But let's see what we got joining us this evening. And then we're going to jump into it. Like I say, it won't be a long stream. We're just going to cover a few things. And then, like I say, just get things back on track. But yes, y'all know we usually go at 7. The World Series and the Astros and things have been kind of throwing off. That's kind of part of the reason why I ain't been going at 7 because generally the game's on. But just to do a little something tonight. Third Coast Sports TV, Wink in the building. Joshua McCarty Wise. Charles Montgomery, Vincent Bryson. What's the motherfucking deal? Nacho Cheese. Professor Trio Gilmore. What's the motherfucking deal? Jonathan McKenzie. Miss Voodoo. The better half of the greatest moderating couple in all the land. Lonnie Nickerson, what's the motherfucking deal? Corey Jackson, Austin Tucker, KTR, West Texas Pop Hunter, what's the motherfucking deal? Jimbo the Pimp, what's the motherfucking deal? James Harden, Trollo, blah, 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 blah. Danny, what's the motherfucking deal? T-Mac, what's the motherfucking deal? Jaja Jabari, Cole Michaels, what's the motherfucking deal? L. Murray Victor, what's the motherfucking deal? Joe Hernandez, Clutch City. Black Schultz, what's the motherfucking deal? And G Rob. Now, hey, Jack, if I missed you, I ain't diss you. Like I said, I just want to get into some things. I'm not going to take a whole lot of time of your time this evening. But I want to talk about the injuries and where we're at and kind of what's going on with the Texans. As they made some new moves. They've upgraded Stephen Mitchell from the practice squad. And then they went and got Garrett Conley for the third. So that third turns from Barcavius, who knows where he is, Mingo, and the Martin guy. And Martin has probably gotten more playing time than Mingo, which is a crazy thing. And again, like I say, I'm not celebrating the Martin pick. It's not a great move, but you've seen him actually get some time on the field and try to do some things. They're trying to utilize him, so whatever. And then that also turns into Garrett Conley from that pick, which would have been, if you would have just let Clowney walk, it would have been a compensatory. So it turned into a move that I guess benefited you a little bit more now so than later, because I guess if you'd have waited for the compensatory, had Bill O'Brien not done. I personally believe he's on a hot seat. I believe his ass is on fire. Like, I really do. I think I've told y'all that Bill had to do some things, and I believe that Cal had a conversation because, again, we saw his demeanor change. We've seen a different Bill this season, and this didn't just start This hadn't been a thing because, again, if him and Gaines were simpatico, they'd have been much more aggressive prior to this. And so Bill, now that he has kind of free reign, I think that his ass is on fire and he has to do some things because, it's just the moves. It's a lot of moves. I know trade deadline's coming, a lot of things happening. I think that these moves are being made because he has to win now. If he doesn't win now, he'll be trying to win somewhere else. So, but the Garrett Conley thing tells me something. And I haven't seen, like I said, I haven't been all the way on point. I haven't seen any updates on J. Joe. So let me know what's going on if y'all heard anything else about J. Joe. But this tells me that the quarterback situation is not looking too good. Also bringing in EJ Gaines, was a guy who I liked from a couple of years back when we were talking about prospects to bring in. But Conley, I'm not mad at the move. I prefer them doing that than going and just getting some guy who's been sitting on his ass, who needs a couple of weeks to get back into it. I won't call Conley a cheap T-shirt. I think he was just in a bad situation, not allowed to exploit or not allowed to utilize what his skill set being in man. The Texans have blitzed a lot more this year, putting guys in man, and so we're not getting the same level of pressure. But that's a whole other thing. That's not has nothing to do with Conley. But I think he'll get a chance to showcase that. But that tells me what's either going on with Roby and what's going on with J. Joe may be a little bit worse than what we think. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's something to take into concern when we talk about what's happening with these moves with this roster. Because if it was just a week-to-week thing, I don't think they would be entertaining multiple cornerbacks. You know what I mean? I know Gaines is out, so that's one thing you have to cover. But I don't think you go and get a guy where you're giving up that draft pick, especially a third. We know the Texans how they utilize thirds, and they don't give a shit about third. This fucking piece of shit third round pick. Fuck this pick. But I don't think you're making moves like that unless you're really trying to do something right now. And so, again, with like I said, Gaines being out, and then you have Roby, J. Joe possibly I think out for a minute. Otherwise, just like Gaines was an off the street guy, they would have went and got someone else off the street just to replace that guy. They wouldn't be really concerned with bringing a guy in to fulfill J. Joe's role or fulfill Roby's role. So to me, that Conley move tells me that there may be something deeper within the injury situation. Looking at Howard and his situation, I know he's supposed to be about a month or so or a couple of weeks. That situation is interesting because I don't think, again, y'all can say whatever y'all want to. I think Justin Houston is probably one of the better rushers that our right tackles have seen. So I don't think there would have been much of a drop-off, I think, with Roderick or with Howard. But the Skipper kid is really interesting. This guy that they picked up, I think, was on the practice squad just recently, and then, he ended up having to play. And I'm not at fault with that. He's an interesting piece with that they've acquired. But I'm just looking at this game and just kind of recapping. And like I said, the 5 takeaways from the game will be dropping immediately after the stream is over with. But my thing is just this, right? The injuries were not an excuse as to why the Texans lost, because we knew that they were some people were dinged up going into this game. We knew that what we were facing, and again, Jacoby Brissett is essentially a backup quarterback. You come into this season right before the season started, luck chunks up a deuce. That's the same as Breeze getting hurt early in the season or anything else. So just a complete game plan, a complete change of game plan. So that has nothing to do with it. These are games that you should win. I think it's a bigger issue going on than just injuries. And again, and that issue to me is the culture. The culture with this team, man, is extremely concerning. It's something that's been a problem for some time. We had a call in the post game that really stood out. I mean, and it's something I've been talking about for quite some time, that this team and this identity, man, it's just like it's a problem. I see Blackson say we don't commit those penalties. Penalties, that's a culture problem. That's a discipline problem. You see certain teams in this league, the better teams in this league, y'all know who I'm talking about. We try to emulate their culture, but for some reason we don't have the most essential part of it, which is discipline and consistency. You see certain teams in this league switch people out day in, day out. It ain't even about talent. Like they'll get rid of somebody and get a lesser talented player and still find that success. But yet they've made some moves. A couple of teams in this team, the 49ers playing great ball. The Patriots playing great ball. They're still making aggressive moves. So again, that discipline comes from the top. Again, this organization, especially with all the power that O'Brien holds in this organization, it's his culture now. Because again, there's no football minds in that front office. But him being the GM, the head coach, having so much say-so in everything that's going on with this team, this is his culture. So what you see is what you get. I know a lot of people are, you guys just want to blame Bill O'Brien. It's not Deshaun. Don't run the team. You don't have that say-so. Nobody else has that power and pull and say so. Who else do you point at? You can't point it at Cal. Cal's the first year guy. He's just now really having those reins. You want to point at Janice? It's not Janice's fault. You point at the guy who's had the longest tenure in the position that he's been in and who's been given more power, and that is Bill O'Brien. Again, so I mean, let the chips fall where they may. Again, with great power comes great responsibility, and those L's come on you. If you want us to give credit when we've been given credit the last few weeks, and even gave him credit this game, because I didn't say the play calling was necessarily bad. I thought there were a few execution issues, and not, in my opinion, not really on Deshaun's behalf. It was more on some of the receiving end and just communication issues. I don't think that Deshaun really just had a bad game. There were flaws there. There were flaws. And again, like I said, that discipline goes into the penalties. What have you seen, Joe Hundo? Appreciate the love, man. No, I don't know if you say you just make Tim Kelly. I mean, you're going from what assistant tight ends coach to head coach that quick. That's pretty interesting. He's not even a whole OC yet. But my concern is like I said, it's just there have been consistencies, and I'm giving credit to Bill O'Brien in the sense of he's coached better. He's been a better coach this season as far as play calling, as far as even when you want to look at the aggressive moves made on and off the field. He's been much more aggressive. I'll give him all the credit in the world for that. But what it comes down to is still accumulating in L's that shouldn't be there. Again, you notice certain characters who pop up. Cushington in the building. What's the motherfucking deal? You notice certain characters who show up around these streams when there's wins versus when there's losses because they ain't got shit to say. But, the thing about it is this team, and I hate to say it, they better figure it out right now because, again, if you don't win the next matchup versus the Colts, it's a wrap. You might as well fire the man. I hate to say it. But I'm not about anybody having to lose their job, but if you're not adequate, if you're not fulfilled, if anybody else is not doing their job sufficiently, you're going to get let go. If you can't beat the Pats this year, you can't beat the Colts. Yeah, it's a tough task because nobody's beaten the Pats yet. But that's the marker. If you're telling me, well, this guy's good enough to always just be to lose to Belichick and some of the more premier coaches, that's not good enough. Because guess what happens? On the road to the Super Bowl, you're going to face the Pats somewhere along the way, and if you can't ever beat them, then guess what? You're never going to see that. But like I say, if you don't beat the Pats and you don't beat the Colts next time and redeem yourself, and I still don't think it's redeemable because that'll be out of the last 5 matches that they've won 3, and the most important ones. If you don't, like I said, the Colts, the Pats, you better sweep the Titans. And then the rest of the teams along the way are kind of here and there. But Baltimore has emerged as a problem, too. And the Ravens, yes, appreciate it, Texas boy. If you don't beat the Ravens, the next matchup versus the Colts and the Patriots, you might as well say it's a wrap. Again, these are teams that are making a splash. And if you can't really beat the teams that are making splashes in this league, then you don't, you got to go in and find somebody else. And this is not to rant and trash on Bill O'Brien the whole time, because I speak on a couple of things in the 5 takeaways. Like I said, I'm going to drop here shortly. But I'm just looking at the culture, and that's the biggest concern I have, because even with the aggressiveness, even with the better play calling, injuries are a part of the game. It is what it is. None of those injuries that we sustained changed anything necessarily on the field, right? Yeah, Fuller wasn't there, but when Fuller's not there, you rely on Steals. Just like when Steals been there, you rely on Kuti. So we weren't dinged up enough in the receiver department to say, oh, we just couldn't compete. Hop still had a hell of a game. Kuti just dropped. Kuti had a nice little shovel pass, touchdown. We were on it. And then he backdoor and he fucks it up, man. Victor, man, appreciate the love, man. Thank you, sir. Appreciate y'all's support. And so my thing is this, man. Regardless of how y'all feel, y'all say, oh, we're just Texans bashers. If we were not concerned, I don't know if you've ever had a coach tell you this. These new modern day coaches don't say anything, but because you can't tell kids nothing these days. But if you ever had a coach tell you back in the day, if I'm not yelling at you, if I'm not complaining at you, that's when you need to be concerned, because that's when they stop giving a fuck. Anybody can sit here and be happy-go-lucky when everything is good, right? Anybody can be here and be happy-go-lucky when everything's on the up and up. That's the easy stuff to do. Again, like I tell you, look who shows up when it's good and look who shows up when it's bad. The people who pull up when it's bad, those are the people who are passionate. Those are the people who are concerned. Those are the people who really give a fuck. Everybody else, they just trying to get some clout. So, now, Victor, that's actually a very good point because it's going to be interesting. I think you can bring back who? You can bring back Thomas now, can't you? I think Kahali stays on IR unless I don't think you can really finesse that into something, maybe. But the assets we had, I heard, shout out to Texas Palace. I saw Texas Palace had put something that they were in the conversation for Chris Harris. But this is the thing that I do like. Let me get off the next. Let me get off the things that I do like with this is there is a different air around this Texans team, though. Okay, and this is what I want y'all to understand. So you got to take the good with the bad. It's not just all shit, and it's not just all great. You have to find you have to find a middle ground and be reasonable. Like, yes, let's celebrate the wins, let's love them. Let's talk about the losses when they're down. But again, like we've been saying, don't overlook shit in the win that you wouldn't in a loss. And the fact that they were out there trying to talk to Chris Harris, which is a name that a lot of people mentioned, right? The fact they tried to, told y'all, they just don't have the assets. They don't have the assets now to make big splashes because they've already gone out and used a lot of that. And that's unfortunate because there's been a lot of opportunities. A lot of people, Jonathan McKenzie, man, appreciate the love. Thank you, sir. There's been a lot of opportunities to get guys. Sanu just fucking slid over to the pass. That's going to be, man, look. That's going to be, the Patriots are already a problem. That defense is already a problem. And now with Sanu, that offense is going to be a problem. So, I mean, it's if you're talking about contending with the big boys, it's going to be much different. And that's why I say, it's the EJ Gaines thing I like. I mentioned it. Like I say, I like EJ Gaines because that's a guy I mentioned from a couple of years ago, not this year, but the year prior, because I think he was a free agent or that he was available. And he was a guy that we had mentioned. That I'm cool with. Niners got Sanders, man, yeah. But again, like I say, yeah, these guys are, trust me, better than Phillip Gaines. I'd rather EJ Gaines over Phillip Gaines. And it's fucked up for Phillip because he's hurt and he's out for the year. And I'm not, I don't wish injuries on anybody. I don't want to see anybody hurt. These people, this is their livelihood. This is how they feed their families. I would never wish a man gets put in a position to where he loses income, whether I fuck with you or not. Like, I'm not a hater. There's no hate in me. You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing. But again, okay, but look at this, right? Look at this. You can say they've played nobody. But look how they've beaten those nobodies, right? Look how they've beaten those nobodies. You can play nobody because we haven't played anybody outside of the Chiefs. That's the only real win we got. The people that we've beaten aren't very good. Look how you play those nobody. They blanked out the fucking Jets. Jets just whooped the Cowboys. Everybody thought, Sam Darnold's back and it's a game now. We know what the Cowboys are, what the Cowboys are, but look how the league is. Week to week, things happen. We make these comparisons, but you never really know. A coach like Belichick, he smiled yesterday. That's the craziest shit. The guy does not take his foot off people's necks. So you can play a bunch of nobodies, but it's how you beat those nobodies, right? Compared to barely beating nobodies. I forgot who just played Atlanta. But I think is even though we put those points up on Atlanta, you feel me? I told you my biggest concern was that we allowed so many points to Atlanta. Who's gave up that many points to Atlanta? Atlanta's not a good team. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta look at. Don't just look at the everybody say, all that matters is the win-loss column. That's not true. Okay? That's not true. It's the game within the game is extremely important. The strengths and weaknesses are extremely important. So where this may be a strength of one team, that same team that may be trash against, a series of teams, well, they can exploit the fuck out of you, But again, man, like I say, it's just a lot of concerns. Like I said, it's not going to be super long. Probably go about maybe 5-10 more minutes. Because I know people want to watch the Astros game. And I want to see the Astros game. But I just have concerns, man. Like, as high as we got up on the Chief game, I told y'all, man, that could have been a one-off thing. Don't act like we won the Super Bowl after the Chief game. Certain people come around, we told you, we knew they'd be trailed in the beginning of the season. And you backdoor and you lose to a Colts team that, exactly. Like, these teams that you're supposed to beat, like, if you're a real contender, you don't look past these teams. They're on your schedule. You play them, but certain things should be expected. But again, like I said, I go back to that Jags game. Too close. Look at what happened. Go back to that Panthers game. Should have told you we're not quite where we need to be yet. Because again, they had one weapon. You made them fumble multiple times. We just weren't there. We can talk about execution. We can talk about consistency. But it's a coach's job to have his team ready to play every week. Week in and week out. The best teams in this league are ready to play. The team that you have to go through to get to the Super Bowl is ready to play. Week in and week out. If we're thinking Super Bowl, but even AFC Championship, whatever it's going to take to get there, you're going to have to go through the Pats. You're going to have to see the Chiefs again. The Chiefs are able to win with the biggest injury. The Saints are able to win with the biggest injuries. The Panthers are winning with the biggest injuries. So that's why I say injuries are not an excuse. Your quarterback's out. That's the biggest problem that you can have. Peyton still winning. Reed lost to us and the Colts. It is what it is. Backdoor had a great game. Fucking Riviera playing. And so that's why when people say, oh, well, we lost this guy, we lost that guy. Yeah, we lost those guys. But let's be honest, a lot of guys that we lost, they got dinged up. We didn't think highly of him anyway. J-Jo got hurt. Half of y'all was talking about trade J-Jo, cut J-Jo before he even plays because he's a liability. So, like, that's not an excuse. Again, like, we have to be reasonable. Stop making excuses for this team because that's what champions don't make excuses. They make solutions. They figure out what it is. And again, we can't go suit up. Look, I sure as hell ain't suiting up, so I'm going to talk a lot of shit. But I think what happened with Reed is Reed has so much more responsibility now this year than he did last year. Last year, he had a veteran, he had a leader, he had a guy that everybody looked to. This year, they felt like, oh, we can get rid of these guys. We don't need anybody. We can rely on Reed. Reed is a smart player, but because he has to get guys, he's getting guys who've had significantly more NFL experience lined up, getting them in position. He has to take much more responsibility. So it's the mental part of the game. When last year he could just play. You know what I'm saying? Last year he could just play ball. He knew what he was supposed to do. Now it's about knowing what everybody's doing, making sure everybody's in place, and still doing his job. So that when you have that added level of responsibility, when guys are looking up to you, you have to. That's just another level of thought. Like I say, you're not responsible for just yourself. You're responsible for your whole position group. It's a different thing. Like I say, the mental aspect of the game is something we overlook a lot. You know what I mean? So I think that's part of the impact on him. I'm not saying it's too much for a second-year guy, but I think just with all the new pieces that you have to. He has a lot of responsibility. He has a lot more mental responsibility. So, you know, and I agree. It's like it's a week-to-week thing. And that's my big issue is consistency. Can you honestly say that where are we at? Finna go into week 8. We're going to the halfway mark. This week is the halfway mark. Can you say each week, and I know we had the O-lineman issues early on and all that. I'm not talking about players being available or anything like that. I'm talking about the team that steps on the field. Do you honestly feel that each week it's been the same team that stepped on the field? It seems like we're watching a different organization every week. They came out against the Saints. We thought they were ready. Oh, we ready. This is it. Hey, it's the Saints. You know, we'll take it. It came down to it. That was on Aaron Colvin. Then you backdoor against the Jags. And you're like, it's a win, but I have questions. Then week 3, who do we have? Week 3, the Chargers. You're like, okay, because we thought the Chargers were still. The Chargers ain't the Chargers anymore. The Chargers are out of there. The Chargers, losing to the Titans, come on. The Chargers aren't the Chargers. But you thought, hey, good win over the Chargers. You know, they are the Chargers from last year is what we were thinking. Chargers just ain't good. So now in hindsight, that really wasn't that great of a win. Then week 4, you have who? Was the Panthers week 4? And then you go in, you deal with the Panthers, and you're like, what's going on? Defense getting pressure. We couldn't make it shake. We couldn't do what we needed to do. We just couldn't put it all together. A lot of bad execution. But even the play calling changed throughout then. Then you backdoor and you go against the Falcons. And you're like, damn, Okay, well we can really light it up. Will Fuller's ready. He's back. He's the man. Can't kick for shit, but Will Fuller's the man. Cool, great. Defense, you had more questions. In week 6, you're like, okay, it's a little bit of a communication issue. Will Fuller, it is what it is. But hey, the rest of the team, we got the pieces. Darren Fells is looking good. Akins is looking good. Running game is looking good. We're a dominant team. We can take time of possession. We can do that. Then you go and you play the fucking Colts, and it's like none of that stuff is there. You know what I'm saying? It's like none of that stuff is there. And so my thing is, I agree with you. I agree with you that non-healthy teams don't win. I mentioned that the other day. Like when it comes to the playoff, it's the health. You notice the teams that go far are the healthier teams. But at the same time, at this point in the season, when it's temporary injuries, not permanent stuff, because the only person I think we have that's a permanent injury is Gaines. You find ways to overcome those small humps, especially when Will Fuller is a key player, but Stills makes up for that. Kuti makes up for that. You find a way to implement Carter. You got tight ends who are weapons. Again, Fells has been a weapon. Akins has been a weapon. If need be, you figure out if you're going to bring Jordan Thomas back. Again, I think you have a guy like Fells and Thomas on the field. You find a way to have both these guys on the field. Who do you stop? You can't stop anybody. But then you go against, like I said, you go against the Colts. Again, essentially a backup quarterback. Leonard comes back and makes a fool out of motherfucker. That's stiff arm. Jacoby plays masterfully. He has his best game ever, basically. And, we talk about those little nuances. People are like, Honcho, you're making a big deal out of Bill O'Brien can't beat Brissett. It's the quarterbacks. It happens again. You know what I'm saying? Like, it happens again. And again, I told you, I'm not knocking Bill. I think Bill has coached better. I think he's been more aggressive. One of my big complaints about this team was being aggressive. But there's something I speak on in, like I said, the 5 takeaways are going to come up right after this. We're going to probably go about 2 more minutes, and I'm going to wrap it up so I can go catch the Astros game, let y'all catch it. And I'm going to drop the I'm going to drop the 5 takeaways after this. There's something I mentioned in the 5 takeaways, and I really want y'all to watch that, and I really want y'all to let me know your thoughts on the last takeaway, if you agree or disagree. But it's just something that I think, and again, I'm not being down on Bill. Like, I'm not back on Team BOB, but I'm not saying, Bill O'Brien is just being completely inept at his job. He's done better than I've expected him to do. My record prediction at this point, it's better than what I expected. But right now, we're basically in the same spot we were last year, right? We were in the same spot we were last year, but about 4-3 at this point. Start off 4-3, you go on that run. But this ain't no run. There's not going to be that patch of 9 games like last year. We're not going to catch it. We're not going to get a 5-game run out of this. Again, there's going to be some tough matches. Again, Baltimore's going to be tough. You got to see the Colts again. Right now, they got our number. Eventually, you're going to have to see the Pats. And then late in the season, I don't want to be concerned about the Titans, but y'all already know the Titans always win a game that they shouldn't win. That for some fucking reason, it just happens, man. But I don't even think those guys were that key. I mean, how many key pieces did we really lose? Fuller, we've seen this team play without Fuller, and that was early on that it was without him, so it wasn't like they didn't know how to adjust. Because, again, you got Stills back in that position, and you went to Stills a couple of times and he made some crucial catches. Gaines, I don't think Gaines was a crucial piece. J. Joe was probably the most solid in your secondary. I give him that. Gibson, and again, I told you I'm not down on Gibson. Gibson would be an essential piece for the most part, because then right after Gibson, he's all right. I have no complaints about him. He's your interception leader, so you need him, I guess. But then right after that, you drop off and a day. I think he's a little bit shorter. He's not the guy. And then I don't even know who you got out there after that. So I would say maybe Gibson was an essential piece. Him going out, definitely hurt. But even with these guys going out, it wasn't like, it's that's the face. This face behind me, right here with Watson. That's the face you make when you're tired of getting asked a bunch of stupid questions by the media. Like, you're just like, man, not the fucking today. Like, did y'all see that Tunsil interview a while back? And it was funny because Pancakes was asking the question, And he's just like, I don't want to answer that, man. Somebody asked me a real question. And then somebody asked him something about music, and he was like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like that type of shit. So, it is what it is, man. 2-0 Astros? Okay, well, thank you for that, DeMarc. You finally good for something. But all I'm saying, man, is I'm not here to shit on O'Brien. But the shit falls on his head and it rolls downhill, I guess you say. I think rack, again, I've been telling you, I've been off the rack train for damn near a season at this point. You know what I'm saying? You know what? Where Kenneth at? Where Kenneth at, huh? The land of the not-so trio. Teacher's assistant trio. But my thing is this, man. Like I said, I'm going to get ready to wind it down. But in the 5 takeaways, I covered some things. I want to know how y'all feel. Again, make sure y'all showing love to Salt Sports TV. I appreciate everybody who donated and showed some love. I told you we're going to go short tonight because of the Astros game. Maybe a shorter stream tomorrow. And then Thursday, we'll probably try to get something going. I'm going to kind of work around the Astros because I have been watching the series. I have been paying attention. So Trill is defeated. Trill looking like the motherfucking goddamn. I can't even think who. I can't even think of the damn team name right now. Matter of fact, real quick, I want y'all to know. Think of something real quick before I slide out here. Y'all realize that we're a tie game away from having the same record as the fucking Cardinals. Remember how the Cardinals were the joke to start off the season? That's where we're at right now. If they wouldn't have had that tie game, they're 3-3. I mean, it's got to tell you something. It is what it is. But I appreciate y'all. No streams when we win, 12 streams when we lose. Nah, see, look. But weren't y'all complaining that I wasn't streaming enough? Like I said, it was some timing issues. I was trying to work around. I ain't gonna lie, I was watching the Astros game. And, I was trying to see what was going on. Hey, they might not have made it to this point, but I couldn't give y'all 3 weeks in a row of no streams and some other content. I had been slacking, but I've been working on some other stuff too. Just kind of getting my schedule together on a couple of things. So that kind of had some impact. But just like I say, stay tuned. There's going to be a lot more content coming this week. If you are a Patreon supporter, I will be dropping 2 private podcasts for the Patreon supporters. So as much as I love y'all showing love and donating via Super Chat and via Streamlabs, man, consider joining the Patreon at the $5 a month tier. Because at the $5 a month, we have the live chats with the entire roundtable on Discord during the live games, even if it's not Texans games, live chats with the Astros games. And there are private podcasts that I will be uploading maybe 2 or 3 times a week is the goal, just here and there. So for the slide part of you, I'm going to go watch the Astros game right now. But I appreciate y'all coming through. I appreciate y'all diverting your attention away from the Astros to come fuck with the sauce. That lets me know what if we lose to the Raiders. We're going to have some day sauce. We're going to have some night. We're going to have some midnight sauce right after the Den show. I'm going to talk so much shit. But I'm not counting on us. I'm not counting on us losing to the Raiders. I'm hoping not. I'm going to give y'all an early advance of my thoughts. If so, it is what it is. Man, the Astros are actually interesting, man. I've never been a baseball guy, but like I said, I watched last year. I didn't really care. I didn't really catch the World Series year. But since then, I've been just kind of watching, like trying to see what all the hype is. I guess because they're one of the greatest teams to ever play, because of their offense and that they score a lot, that it's interesting. And then when you see when you kind of start learning about the chess matches within the game, you know what I'm saying? Exactly. It's just like John said. When you start learning about the chess matches within the game, it becomes very interesting, especially when you have the proper pieces to win it. So, hey, if you're not watching Astros, you better watch history now with Cole and Verlander and what they're doing, Bregman, Altuve, all those guys, man, Correa. That niggas was y'all's time. I've been low key peeping game. A lot of Astros fans were like, "I'm about fuck Correa, throw Correa away," and y'all back on Correa dick now. Man, but with that being said, I appreciate y'all. Like I said, 5 takeaways will be uploaded shortly right after this, so look out for that. But with that being said, hey, y'all are the freshest motherfucking ingredients of the world. I appreciate y'all, each and every one of you, man. And like I said, we'll be back at it tomorrow. Might be a short stream tomorrow. Like I said, I'll be working around the Astros schedule. And Thursday we'll have some real live action, get the phone line on and everything like that. But with that being said, it's your boy Honcho. Y'all be cool like y'all be cool. We will be in the Den at 10. Y'all stay saucy, and I'm out.
Perfect.